Donald Trump Jr., who was in court again this morning. There he is. You hear the protesters chanting, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family, a very dumb crime family, the Gambozos, if you will, and I mean, that son of a bitch, you know, is really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a bitch.
His royal... Yes, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again.
All right, let's talk about one of the most hilarious and ongoing one-man takedowns in late-night history. Jimmy Kimmel versus Donald Trump Jr. This isn't just a feud. This is a masterclass in public roasting, live television exposure, and watching a man who desperately wants to be his father's heir, but ends up being the family meme. Today we're diving into every major moment when Jimmy Kimmel exposed, mocked, and absolutely cooked Donald Trump Jr. on live TV, and why Jr. keeps walking right into it every single time. Trump by 16 points. I'm at +3. He's at -3, which is nice, but it feels like, considering the fact that I'm not a convicted felon friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and I've never paid off a star or send a team of mass goons into a park to pull an old lady away from her grandchildren. I feel like my rating should be higher maybe than it all started in 2017, the year Don Jr. decided that tweeting evidence against himself was somehow a good idea. Remember the infamous I love it email chain? The one where he agreed to meet with a Russian lawyer promising dirt on Hillary Clinton. Instead of keeping quiet like someone with half a brain and a lawyer on speed dial, he posted the emails on Twitter himself. Jimmy Kimmel went nuclear that night on Jimmy Kimmel Live. He couldn't believe it. Nobody could. Held responsible for making safety last. But fortunately for him, he's got an ardent defender in one Donald Jr. Pete Buttigieg. As you saw in the clip earlier, he's taking some personal time because, 19 days isn't enough time. Plus, the time he spent chest feeding while we were in the midst of a supply chain crisis, and 350 million Americans were depending on him to do his damn. He said it was the first time in American history that a guy voluntarily leaked his own crimes online. Kimmel called it the dumbest form of transparency in political history. The audience roared. It wasn't just a joke. It was a moment that captured how unhinged the Trump family's approach to damage control really was. From that day on, Kimmel never missed a beat when it came to Donald Trump Jr. If there was a scandal, a misstep, or a poorly timed book tour, you could bet Jimmy had a monologue ready to go. No one is more perturbed right now than Trump's most disappointing son. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Trump already beat Stormy Daniels in court? Like, in all fairness, isn't she paying his legal bills or something like that? I don't know. Music, his hands move faster in his brain. They're what is it? It's like if Jim Henson had no puppets. How you doing over there? I'm doing real good. The important thing for DJ TJ isn't necessarily defending his father and the Trump family. What's most important is this. The other thing that you should be watching is the insanity going on in the market right now. So, I want to make sure that I take the time to tell you about another one of our great sponsors. Fast forward to 2018. The Brett Kavanaugh confirmation circus was dominating headlines. While the Trumps were busy politicizing the Supreme Court, Kimmel turned his spotlight back on Don Jr., who had been tweeting his outrage all over the place. Kimmel reminded his viewers that Don Jr. tweeting about women's credibility was like a fox tweeting about hen house security. It was savage. The man has timing, and Don Jr. just keeps handing him free material. Then came 2019, the triggered era. Trump is in the UK, or as he has to be reminded not to call it, the Heinton Unbearable is in England for an official visit with the royal family. Wait till he finds out tea time has nothing to do with golf. He's going to be very upset. The royals are expected to greet the president and first lady tomorrow, but some clever Brits are already. Don Jr. released his book titled Triggered, which was supposed to be about how the left couldn't handle free speech, but ironically, it ended up being the year everyone realized he was the most easily triggered of all. When he went on The View to promote it, the interview went completely off the rails. He got booed by the audience, snapped at the hosts, and looked like a man regretting every PR decision ever made. Jimmy Kimmel played the clip on his show and said, "The only thing more awkward than this interview is Don Jr. realizing he's not actually the favorite child. By the way, this was not good news for Team Trump. Yesterday, we learned that Donald Trump Jr. DJ TJ was in Get That Going. All right, start saying it. Was in regular contact with WikiLeaks during his father's campaign, which might have something to do with why Donald Trump said he loved WikiLeaks more times during the campaign than he said he loved Melania. DJ TJ received a number of direct messages from WikiLeaks via Twitter, and he responded to 3 of them. My favorite part of the story is his first response to WikiLeaks started with "put it up on the screen. This is real. Us started with off the record. Now this is WikiLeaks." The word leaks is right in the name. There's no off the record with them. So anyway, Junior Donald tried to minimize his relationship with WikiLeaks on his Twitter account, but they did have a relationship. Although it's possible he thought he was in a conversation with Nene Leaks. It was brutal, but also painfully true. A few days later, the disaster continued at UCLA, where Don Jr. tried to hold a Turning Point USA event to promote the same book. The audience, his own conservative base, started booing him because they weren't allowed to ask questions. It was a scene straight out of a sitcom. A man selling free speech getting booed for not allowing free speech. Kimmel's monologue the next night was pure comedy gold. He said, "It turns out Don Jr. doesn't even like free speech when it's aimed at him. Don Jr. He's so embarrassing. He's on the stand. He's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial. And he has to compliment. He said his father is an artist with real estate. Yeah, he's an artist with he's Vincent Van going to jail with real estate. Oh, peace." And Don Jr. did what he does best, pretend he didn't care while rage tweeting about Hollywood elites. Then in early 2020, Don Jr. showed up at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, looking a little too energetic. Kimmel jokingly suggested on his show that Don Jr. looked like he'd had won too many energy drinks, if you catch my drift. It wasn't a cheap shot. It was observational humor. The man was sweating, rambling, and packing like he was trying to sell a used car to a raccoon. Put a gym in a building somewhere, but no one did it at the scale of my father. He's saying that his father, the father of the hotel gym, is a guy who's never stepped inside one. Okay. The amount of ass-kissing in this trial is insane. DJT, of course, denies any and all wrongdoing and is instead going with the "our accountants did it" defense. I'm not supposed to rely on a Big 5 accounting firm, like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. I can pay them millions of dollars. I rely on them to do accounting, but I'm supposed to know more than them. By this logic, insurance companies are going to start suing patients for listening to their doctors, right? Do you understand? Like, am I supposed to know more? Oh, Don Jr. doesn't know anything about it. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business guy. I'm a business guy who had his elbows soldered together, you know. Kimmel said it best. Donald Trump Jr. looks like he's auditioning for Wolf of Wall Street 2 MAGA edition. And when Don Jr. later tested positive for COVID-19, Kimmel didn't let it slide either. He reminded viewers that this was the same guy who mocked mask mandates and downplayed the virus. Kimmel said, "You hate to say I told you so, but when it comes to Don Jr., you kind of have to say it slowly so he understands." But things got darker as time went on. Hear from one very special friend. Moments after we taped our show last night, the Mad Red Hatter wrote, "I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. Applause. You can't believe they gave me my job back. I can't believe we gave you your job back." Don Jr. wasn't just doing weird interviews anymore. He was spreading conspiracy theories online. Earlier this year, he shared a doctored video smearing Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Kimmel, who's been one of the few late-night hosts consistently calling out disinformation, went off. He told his audience, "Imagine being so desperate for attention that you're sharing fake war propaganda while your dad is getting indicted. And what they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage, who puts the network in jeopardy. You hear that? There's the threat again. This time straight from FCC Biscuit's mouth. He goes, he says, I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Only Donald Trump would try to prove he wasn't threatening ABC by threatening instead of WikiLeaks from the Real Housewives. But it still has what's going on, James Kimmel. We are everywhere. We are Legion. We are WikiLeaks. How did you get past our firewall? We.